What if I told you there's a strategy so powerful, so psychologically disruptive, that going no contact seems weak in comparison? No contact still leaves the door open. It keeps you waiting, wondering, hoping they might come back. But this ensures they regret ever walking away. Not because you vanished, but because you became someone so strong, so untouchable, that they're forced to question everything. This isn't about mind games. It's not about sitting by your phone, hoping for a message that may never come. This is about control, about mastering yourself so completely that by the time they realize what they lost, you've already moved on. This is the story of a man who was shattered by heartbreak, just like you. He thought no contact was enough until he discovered something far more powerful. And by the end of this video, you'll have a strategy so effective they won't just miss you, they'll regret ever letting you go. So if you're ready to stop hurting and start winning, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below. I control my destiny. Now, let's get started. Number 1. The truth about no contact. Why it's not enough. No contact. It's the classic advice, the go-to response when you've been dumped, ghosted, or replaced. Just ignore her, they say. She'll come back once she realizes what she lost. At first, it sounds like a solid plan, a quiet battle of willpower. You cut her off, you vanish, and then you wait. You picture the moment she regrets it, the instant she checks her phone, sees you're gone, and starts to panic. You convince yourself she'll miss you, stalk your social media, and feel the emptiness just as much as you do. But here's the harsh reality. Most of the time, she doesn't. At least, not in the way you're hoping. No contact can work, but only if you actually move on. And that's where most men fail. They don't use no contact to heal. They use it as a waiting game. They're not rebuilding themselves. They're just holding their breath, expecting that one message, that one call, that one moment when she finally realizes what she lost. But waiting is still weakness, because as long as you're hoping for her return, she still controls you. And women can sense it. They can tell when a man is faking strength, when he's just playing the part instead of actually letting go. They know when you're still emotionally tied to them, even in silence. And that's why no contact on its own usually fails. Because if she senses you're still watching, still hoping, still waiting, she knows she still has power over you. And what does she do with that power? She moves on completely. Maybe she'll check in after a few weeks, just to test the waters, just to see if you're still there. And the moment she sees that you are, that you still care, that you still respond, she walks away again, even more certain that leaving you was the right choice. Because to her, you were never really gone. You were just waiting in the background, hoping she'd come back. That's when most men crack. That little bit of attention, that short-lived dopamine rush, it tricks them into thinking they have another chance. They get excited. They drop the act. They reply too fast. They show too much interest. And in that instant, she knows. She was right to leave. So what's the real solution? If no contact isn't enough, what is? Becoming a man she can never reach again. Not just by going silent, not by waiting, but by achieving a level of indifference so real, so unshakable, that she no longer holds any power over you. Because the only time she will truly feel your absence is when she realizes you don't care anymore, not pretending, not acting, actually gone. And when she reaches out, because eventually she will, you won't even need to respond. Like this video, subscribe and comment below. I need no one. I choose myself. Number 2. The collapse. A man shattered by love. he never saw it coming. One moment she was his everything, late-night talks, inside jokes, deep conversations that made him believe they had something real, something unshakable. Then, without warning, she was gone. No heartfelt explanation, no apology, just a distant, emotionless goodbye that cut through him like a knife. He stared at his phone, rereading her last message, hoping the words would somehow reveal a hidden meaning. But they never did. They never do. The days that followed felt like a slow, relentless torment. Every space felt empty. Every song carried a painful reminder. His bed seemed too big. His phone too silent. Her laughter still echoed in his mind. He could still see the way she used to look at him, as if he was the only man in the world. But now she looked through him like a stranger. Worse, as if he never existed at all. That was the hardest part. How effortlessly she moved on, how easily she erased him, as if he were nothing more than a fleeting moment in her life. But he couldn't do the same. His mind became a battleground, fighting between anger and longing, between resenting her and wanting her back. He obsessed over every conversation, every moment, desperately searching for where it all fell apart. Was he too available? Too affectionate? Not enough? The questions tormented him, keeping him up at night, chasing answers that would never come. Then the advice started pouring in. Go no contact, they said. Disappear. Make her miss you. So he did. He deleted her number, avoided her social media, resisted every urge to reach out. Every time his fingers hovered over the keyboard, aching to send a message, he forced himself to stop. He convinced himself this was strength, that this would make her realize what she had lost. But deep down, he was still trapped. Because even though he wasn't speaking to her, she still lived in his mind. Every single day. He kept checking his phone, hoping for a message that never arrived. Scrolling through old photos, wondering if any of it had ever been real. Telling himself he was moving forward, when in reality he was just waiting. Waiting for her to regret leaving. Waiting for her to realize she had made a mistake. But that moment never came. And then it hit him. No contact wasn't enough. It was a temporary fix, not a real solution. Because as long as his happiness depended on her return, as long as he needed her recognition to feel whole, he was still powerless. And powerlessness is never attractive. She didn't respect him when he was broken, and she certainly wouldn't respect him for sitting around hoping for a second chance. He had been playing a losing game, and that's when everything shifted. Like this video, subscribe and comment below. I master my emotions. Number 3, the dark side of attraction, why they always come back. She thought she had won. Walking away, she assumed he'd be crushed, drowning in regret, waiting in the shadows for the day she got bored and decided to return. That's how most men react. They beg, they plead, they try to convince her of their worth, like love is something that can be bargained for. But him? He did something unexpected. He vanished, not just from her life, but from her mind. At first she didn't notice. She was too busy enjoying her freedom, chasing new experiences, maybe even entertaining other men. In her world, he was still there, lingering in the background, silently suffering. But then something felt off. Where was he? Why wasn't he watching her stories? Why wasn't he waiting like every other guy? That's when the panic set in. Because human nature is predictable. People take for granted what's easily available, but they fear losing what they thought was theirs forever. And when she realized he wasn't just ignoring her, that he had genuinely moved on, it triggered something deep inside her. Doubt. uncertainty, curiosity. The same man who once adored her, who would have done anything for her, had now become a mystery. And there is nothing more powerful than a man who is untouchable. This is the dark side of attraction, the uncomfortable truth about human psychology. People don't chase what they control, they chase what they can't. And the moment he truly removed himself from her world, he created a void she couldn't ignore. That's why they always come back. Not because they miss you, not because they suddenly appreciate you, but because the thought of you not needing them terrifies them. And so, the game shifts. She starts checking his profile, looking for clues that he still cares. Maybe she tosses out a test, likes an old photo, sends a casual hope you're doing well text, or acts like nothing ever happened. It's not real. It's not love. It's a power move. She just wants to know if she still has a hold on him. If he reacts, she wins. If he ignores her, she spirals. This is where most men slip up. They mistake her curiosity for true regret. They think, this is it. She finally sees my worth. And the moment they show interest, the second they give her a reaction, she feels safe again. The fear of losing him vanishes. And just like that, she walks away. The cycle repeats, but not him, not this time, because he's finally figured it out. He is the prize. He doesn't need to prove his value. He is valuable. And when she finally reaches out, expecting the same man she left behind, she finds someone else, someone colder, someone who doesn't see her as his future, but as a lesson from his past. And that's when the real regret hits, not because she lost him, but because he no longer cares. Like this video, subscribe, and comment below. I am the prize. Number 4. The power of indifference, beyond no contact. At first, he believed no contact was the key, that if he stayed silent long enough, she'd eventually realize what she lost and come running back. But as the days passed, a harsh truth set in. No contact wasn't enough. Deep inside, he was still waiting, still hoping, still letting her take up space in his mind. And as long as he cared, he wasn't free. That's when everything changed. No more waiting, no more false hope. No more pretending to be strong while secretly wishing for her return. He needed something more powerful than silence, something that would truly set him apart. Indifference, not just avoiding her, not just ignoring her, but completely removing her from his reality, her thoughts, her actions, her regrets. None of it mattered anymore. He didn't just stop contacting her, he erased her presence from his life. No checking up, no wondering where she was or who she was with, no keeping the door open, even slightly, for a possible reunion. Because here's the truth. No contact is silence. Indifference is power. Silence still carries emotion. It means you care enough to stay quiet. But indifference? That shakes people to their core. That's what makes them feel the loss in a way they never expected. When someone who once adored you now sees you as just another face in the crowd, someone they could pass on the street without a second glance, that's when regret starts to creep in. And that's exactly what happened. At first, she didn't notice. She assumed he was like every other guy, waiting, suffering in silence, hoping she'd come back. But then something felt different. His absence wasn't just temporary. It was real. His energy had shifted. He wasn't avoiding her. He had evolved beyond her. And that's when the tables turned. One day, curiosity got the best of her. She checked his social media, expecting to find the same man she left behind. But he wasn't there. At least, not in the way she expected. No sad posts, no cryptic messages, no desperate attempts to grab her attention. Instead, he looked alive, strong, confident, completely unbothered. And worst of all, she was no longer a part of his world. That's when the doubt set in. Why isn't he heartbroken? Why isn't he chasing me? Did I make a mistake? For the first time, she wasn't so sure. She had assumed he'd always be there, waiting in the background, available whenever she decided to return. But now she realized she might have lost him for good. And that's the secret. Indifference is more powerful than silence, more powerful than absence, because people don't desire what they can ignore, they crave what they can't control. When you reach this level of detachment, you don't need to block. You don't need to make a dramatic exit. You simply become someone they can never reach again. Like this video, subscribe and comment below. I am untouchable. Number 5. Silent domination, winning without words. The old version of him would have needed validation, posting cryptic messages, trying to prove he was better off without her, secretly hoping she'd notice. But the man he is now, he has nothing to prove. His progress speaks for itself. This is the essence of silent domination. No words, no explanations, no desperate attempts to be seen. Just pure, relentless action. While others waste energy trying to be noticed, he stays focused on one thing: leveling up. He understands a simple truth. The most powerful man in any room is the one who speaks the least, but accomplishes the most. He doesn't block her. He doesn't delete old photos in anger. He doesn't engage in petty games to get a reaction. He simply withdraws his energy completely. And that's what unsettles her the most. Not his absence, but the eerie feeling that he was never even there to begin with. No closure, no emotional leftovers, just nothing. At first, she convinces herself he's pretending, that it's all an act to make her wonder. But as time passes, doubt creeps in. Why isn't he checking my stories? Why isn't he reacting? Did I underestimate him? She expects bitterness, resentment, a desperate attempt to get her attention. Instead, she's met with complete indifference, silence, emptiness. And that's when the real shift happens. When someone who once adored you suddenly acts like you never existed, it forces you to think. She starts remembering the things she took for granted, the way he made her feel, how he was always there, until he wasn't. Her curiosity grows. She casually mentions his name in conversations. She scrolls through his social media, looking for any sign that he still cares. But what she finds is far worse than she imagined. He's not just doing fine, he's thriving. He looks better. He radiates confidence. He's moving forward without hesitation. And worst of all, he's not looking back. That's when the regret settles in. The realization that while she was busy with distractions, he was becoming the man she always wanted, but now can never have. This is why winning without words is the ultimate victory, because it's not about convincing her of anything, it's about becoming undeniable. By now he knows the truth. Actions speak louder than words. He doesn't need to post about his growth. His presence, his success, and his energy say it all. And when she finally reaches out, hoping to reconnect with the man she once knew, she'll realize he's long gone. Because the greatest power move isn't proving them wrong, it's making them realize they were never a factor in your success. Like this video, subscribe and comment below. I let my actions speak. Number 6. The Stoic transformation, turning pain into power. The old version of him would have chased. He would have clung to every little sign, overanalyzing texts and interactions, searching for proof that she still cared. But that man, he's gone. This time, he isn't just moving on, he's evolving. Not to win her back, not to prove anything to her, but for himself. Pain is a force. For most men, it becomes a trap, a never-ending loop of regret and self-doubt. But for the few who truly understand Stoicism, pain isn't a curse. It's fuel. It's fire. It's the push needed for transformation. And that's exactly what he embraced. He didn't run from heartbreak. He didn't numb it. He sat with it. He let it refine him, sharpen him. Every ounce of suffering became a lesson. Every moment of doubt became motivation. Instead of being consumed by the past, he redirected his focus towards something greater, becoming unshakable. First, he mastered his mind. Emotional control became his foundation. He studied Stoicism, training himself to respond, not react. He learned the principles that shaped warriors and leaders, the power of detachment, the discipline of focusing only on what he could control, the strength of accepting reality without resistance. Where he was once ruled by his emotions, now he was calm, collected, untouchable. Then he refined his body. A strong mind demands a strong vessel. He poured all his energy, the same energy he once wasted on heartbreak, into self-discipline. The gym became his proving ground. Every rep, every drop of sweat was a silent vow to himself. I will never be weak again. His body transformed. His posture shifted. The way he carried himself changed, and people noticed. But the most powerful change, his presence. He no longer needed validation. He no longer sought attention, and in needing nothing, he attracted everything. The same people who once ignored him now gravitated toward him. The same woman who thought she could replace him, now she watched from a distance, realizing what she had lost. And yet, he didn't care. Because true power isn't about revenge. It isn't about proving a point. It's about becoming so valuable, so elevated, that the past becomes irrelevant. He didn't just move on, he ascended. So far beyond her reach that she became nothing more than a passing memory. Because the real victory isn't making them regret losing you. It's becoming someone they could never have again. Like this video, subscribe and comment below. Pain makes me stronger. Number 7. The ultimate test. When she reaches out. It's inevitable. Maybe not today, maybe not next week. But at some point, she will reach out. It might be a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" or a reaction to your post. Maybe she reminisces about an old memory, hoping to see if it still holds weight. Sometimes it's even more subtle, a like on a picture, a view on your story, just enough to remind you she still exists. But don't be fooled. This isn't random. It's a test. And most men, they fail. The second her message pops up, emotions take over. Their pulse quickens, their mind floods with nostalgia, and suddenly all the progress they made vanishes. This is it, they think. She finally realized what she lost. And just like that, they're pulled right back into the cycle. They respond too quickly, too eagerly. They try to act indifferent, but the excitement leaks through. And she knows she still has power over them. But this man, he's different. He has worked too hard to let a single message undo him. He understands the game. She's not reaching out because she truly misses him. She's reaching out to see if she still could have him. If he bites, she wins. And the cycle repeats. That's why he doesn't take the bait, not out of anger, not to play mind games, but because she simply doesn't matter anymore. And that shakes her. She was expecting something, anything, a response, an ounce of validation, but instead, silence. And if he does acknowledge her, it's short, civil, detached. She asks how he's been. Good. No extra details, no opening for more conversation, no sign that he's been waiting for this moment. She feels the shift. Where once there was longing, now there's indifference, and that's when panic sets in. Does he still think about me? Is he with someone else? Did I make a mistake? She thought she was in control, but now she's the one feeling rejected, the one scrambling for answers. And the harder she tries to figure him out, the more powerless she becomes. This is the test, and the ones who pass it, they never look back. Because once you master yourself, once you outgrow the need for validation, you realize something undeniable. The past has nothing left for you. Like this video, subscribe and comment below. I am in control. Number 8. The social shift, mastering the art of mystery. At first, he thought disappearing completely was the best strategy, cutting all ties, leaving her to wonder what went wrong, and letting regret do its work. But then he discovered something even more powerful: mystery. Because when someone vanishes entirely, the explanation is simple. She assumes he's bitter, still hurting, avoiding her out of weakness. But a man who is still there, just out of reach, impossible to read, that's the one who lingers in the mind. He didn't block her. He didn't chase attention. He simply became unpredictable. Where he was once an open book, now he's a puzzle with missing pieces. No sad quotes, no indirect jabs, no desperate attempts to be noticed, just a quiet, intentional presence. Glimpses of his life that spark curiosity, but never give away the full picture. This is the social shift. You don't disappear. You evolve in plain sight. You move with purpose, leaving subtle hints. A photo from a place she's never been. A post that exudes confidence, but with no explanation, no dramatic captions, no attention-seeking behavior, just quiet strength. And that's what unsettles her the most. Because when a man transforms, a woman's instinct is to figure out why. Is he with someone new? Did he outgrow me? Was he always this strong and I just never saw it? She starts checking in more often, scanning for signs, anything to confirm her suspicions. But she finds nothing. No outbursts, no bitterness, just undeniable progress. The more she tries to understand him, the more frustrated she becomes. She thought she had him figured out, that he would always be the one who cared more. But now, he feels like a stranger, a mystery, and mystery fuels attraction, because people don't fixate on what they fully understand. They obsess over what confuses them. They crave what they can't control. And the moment you become unreadable, unpredictable, untouchable, that's when they can't stop thinking about you. But here's the real power move. You're not doing this for her. You're not crafting a mystery to pull her back in. You're doing it because you've outgrown the need to explain yourself, because your life is yours now, and she no longer has access to it, not because you shut her out, but because you no longer need her in. And that's when the regret sets in. Like this video, subscribe, and comment below. I am a mystery. Number 9. The final shift, becoming truly unbreakable. There comes a point in every man's journey when he realizes he's truly free. Not because she finally reached out, not because he won the breakup, but because, for the first time, she no longer matters. Her name? Just another word. Her memory? Faded, distant, irrelevant. He feels no need to prove himself, not to her, not to anyone. He has become untouchable. This is the final shift. The moment when pain stops being a burden and transforms into nothing more than a lesson. When he wakes up and sees the truth, her thoughts, her regrets, her opinions. They hold no weight because he's too busy living. And that's what truly shatters her. It's not the silence, it's not the indifference. It's the brutal realization that she has lost all influence over him. She assumed she had time, that if she ever wanted to, she could return, that a part of him would always belong to her. But when she finally looks back, she finds nothing. No trace of the man she once knew, only someone who has evolved so far beyond her reach that she becomes nothing more than a footnote in his story. This is where most fail. They believe moving on means finding a replacement, proving a point, or seeking revenge. But real strength? It doesn't come from validation. It comes from no longer needing it. He doesn't build himself up to make her jealous. He doesn't grow so she'll regret leaving. He becomes unshakable because that's who he was meant to be all along. And when he reaches this stage, something incredible happens. The past, meaningless. The what-ifs, irrelevant. Whether she misses him doesn't matter, because he's stepped into a new reality, one where he is the architect of his own fate. This is what true power looks like. No chasing, no proving, just living in a way that commands respect, without saying a word. He is no longer the man who suffered heartbreak. He is a force of nature, a man who has risen from the ashes, stronger than ever. And the best part, this story was never about her. It never was. Like this video, subscribe, and comment below. I never look back. Number 10. The new reality. Living life on his terms. This is the final transformation, the moment he steps fully into the life he was always meant to live. No longer weighed down by the past, no longer shaped by heartbreak, no longer seeking validation from anyone because he knows his own worth. He doesn't wonder about what could have been. He doesn't care who she's with, whether she regrets it, whether she still watches his life from the shadows. It's all irrelevant, because the man she once knew, he's gone. What remains is something far greater, a man who built himself from the ground up, a man who has mastered his emotions, sharpened his mind, and strengthened his spirit. He walks into every room with quiet confidence, not because he needs to be noticed, but because his presence demands respect. The attention he once craved, meaningless. The validation he once chased, no longer necessary. He doesn't seek approval. He simply is. And that's the part she never saw coming. She assumed he would always leave the door open, that she could return one day and find him exactly where she left him. But when she finally looks back, he's not there. Not because he blocked her, not because he's bitter, but because he outgrew her. That is true power, not revenge, not resentment, just indifference. He doesn't look back because the past holds nothing for him. He doesn't need closure. His success is his closure, his growth, his evolution. That is the final chapter, not a conversation, not an explanation, just becoming so untouchable that the past loses all meaning. And that's what truly unsettles her. Not that he moved on, not that he's thriving, but that she no longer exists in his world. She's just a lesson, one he's already learned. While she's stuck wondering, questioning, regretting, he's living a life she'll never be part of again. Because in the end, the strongest man isn't the one who wins her back. It's the one who becomes so powerful that he never even considers it. Like this video, subscribe, and comment below. I am unstoppable. Conclusion. Owning your destiny. This journey ends here, but for you, this is just the beginning. The moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop waiting, the moment you take full control of your own life. Because this was never about her, never about making her regret. It was always about becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to look back. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. You don't need permission to thrive. You are the prize. And when you truly embrace that, the past fades into nothing. No more regrets. No more overthinking. No more heartbreak. What replaces it? A man who is untouchable. A man who dictates his own fate. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of most. Because most men never get here. They stay stuck, waiting, hoping, suffering. But not you. You've already taken the first step toward becoming something greater. Now, it's time to finish what you started. Build yourself. Master your emotions. Keep moving forward. Because once you become unshakable, once you are truly free, life stops being about proving anything to anyone and starts being about living on your own terms. So, if you're ready to keep evolving, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And for one last time, comment below, "I control my destiny," because from this point forward, no one else does.